Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Tape Deck Media.
I'm Chris Chapman.
And I'm Aaron Fresquez.
I'm Joseph Beck Castro.
Cool. And together, we produce a comedy podcast about the films of Arnold Schwarzenegger called See You at the Potty, Richter.
See you at the potty, Richter. Like that. You need to say it with accent.
Yeah, come on. Don't you know accents?
That's not Arnold Schwarzenegger accent. This is a Schwarzenegger accent.
It's an accent, sure. Anyway, listen each month as we take you through Arnold's career, one movie at a time. For each movie, we'll explain the plot, discover some fascinating trivia about its production and promotion, and rate the film on its quintessential Arnoldness.
That's what we do. I mean, that's what we do.
That is Joe's accent is a lot better than my accent.
We know you have a lot of choices in the comedy deep dive into the filmography of the world's most charismatic bodybuilder genre of podcasts, but please consider giving us a shot.
Come on, do it now. Do it. Subscribe.
Ruddle me this, ruddle me that. We got the riddles that'll make you chat. Oh yeah, baseline stuff with groove is tight. Get your funk on, we're rocking tonight. One more time.
Good morning, Ruddle Maniacs. Welcome back to another episode of Ruddle Me This. I am, as always, your faithful host, Taylor Ruddle. It's going to be a very quiet, very calm intro for you today, as at the time of this recording, I've done so many gigs and events this week, and last night going to bed, I was really feeling my voice, so I was very worried. I've still got three more to go, so after recording this, I'm going to be heading out to the Austin Club to do a show there. Thankfully, I'm not performing, as it is our International Women's Day show, so I'm just sort of producing that one. Then tomorrow night, Winnebago's Rangiora, I'm doing Beats by Bingo, so I need to preserve my voice for that one. And then on the 8th, by the way, this will all have happened by the time you're listening to this podcast. But on the 8th, I am doing some guest ring announcing at the Unified Championship Wrestling Summer for Assault, and that is the main thing I am terrified of losing my voice for, so we're going to keep the energy low. I'm ending each day by gargling salt, vocal rest where I can. This is genuinely the first time I've spoken out loud today, so we're just going to take it easy. I've got a fantastic episode for you today. We are back for another episode of Am I the Asshole with my great friend Dave Adams. I travelled out to his house again and we recorded this one in person, so it is of course a lot of fun. Before we get into the episode, I've just got a quick little thing to talk about, so I'm not entirely sure whether it's going to lead to something or not, but I recently had a TikTok I made go kind of viral. I don't know what the criteria for viral is, but this thing hit something like 80k views, which is like 10 times the stuff that I normally post gets. So I'm not sure if this is the beginning of me blowing up as a comedian, but if it is, I would like to at least sort of document when it started, as I personally like to be able to go back and see things kind of in real time. Like an example is the Matt and Shane's secret podcast. You can listen to a few episodes after Shane's initial cancellation, getting fired from SNL. So yeah, who knows? I've been trying to stay off my phone, but also just can't resist checking. I've never seen the 99 plus icon for notifications in TikTok, so I'm quite giddy over that. And you always hope to yourself, like, oh, maybe this is going to be my big break. You try not to get your hopes up too much, but, I can't help it. I've seen this sort of thing happen for so many of my friends, so I'm really hoping that this is the beginning of me starting to pop off a little bit and getting out there into the mainstream. So if it is, I just want to say thank you to all the listeners who have been tuning in for this past 2 years of the podcast, watching my my comedy specials and my clips on social media. Now again, this could just be nothing. This could be like a false positive. It might be my flash in the pan. But just in case it does turn into something big, I thought I'd want to document it and kind of give you my thoughts and feelings as it's all happening. One of my favourite albums ever is the Fall Out Boy Infinity on High, and at the start of the song Thriller, there's a sort of spoken word intro by Jay-Z, I think, of all people, and he says, "This song goes out to all the fans who held us down while everybody came around," and ever since I heard that, I always wondered if I would have a similar moment in my career, so watch this space, we shall see. If you've been here since day one, I appreciate you. I can't put into words how much it means to me that you've checked out some of the stuff I've been making. And let's see where 2025 brings me. So as for right now, let's get started with the interview. Please, Ruddle Maniacs, welcome to the show once again, your friend and mine, comedian Dave Adams. Welcome, Ruddle Maniacs, to another episode of Ruddle Me This. I have got a special guest. You'll remember him from the last couple of times he's been on the podcast. We are going to do another edition of the Am I the Arsehole episode because they were so much fun to do the last time, and it ended up being something like number 7 in my top downloads for 2024. So we've got to give the people what they want, and that's why I've brought Dave back. So let's give him a quick introduction. Welcome to the podcast, Dave Adams.
Hey, it's Dave Adams.
We got the timing right that time. We came up with a very complicated hand gesture system. That,
I was expecting the eyebrows, but you gave me a
sorry,
hand
yeah, I thought, that was my bad.
Improv? You just give me...
I am the asshole in that situation, Dave. I apologize. So let's just jump straight into it. We talked about wrestling a lot last time, so let's give the people what they want, more Am I the Asshole content. So just a quick recap. What are the 3 results it can be?
I think there's a few, but there is You're the Arsehole, YTA, Not the Arsehole, NTA, and then there's ESH, Everyone Sucks Here.
And then I think there's NAH, which is No Arseholes, and no one's wrong. So,
yes.
Subreddit r/Am I the Arsehole. I also discovered another one. It's r/AITAH, which is like... they seem to be less moderated, so you get some pretty unhinged stuff going through there. So here's the first one. The deep inhale. Am I the arsehole for accidentally ruining my autistic boyfriend's safe food? So this is quite a long one, but I'll just sort of give you the cliff notes of it. It's this, I think it's a lady. Her boyfriend has autism and probably ARFID, which you know what that is? The texture thing with food.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I think I have it as well, which is why I chose this one here.
Oh.
And so the long and short of it is her boyfriend loves eating beef stew. It's one of his like safe foods.
Yeah.
And the problem is it's really expensive. It's $47 for a big bowl, and that would be fine. But the problem is he's grossed out by leftovers, so more than half of it gets wasted. He'll eat some of it and then just like throw out the rest of it. They've had a couple of arguments. He says, I don't understand his brain. I say he doesn't understand our budget. So it's obviously a cost thing is her concern. So then she decided she was going to learn how to make it, so it'd be cheaper at home.
Yeah.
And he liked it. So let's see, it says here, he loved it for a few days, and then one night he was hanging out with me in the kitchen and saw me put tomato paste into the pot. He was really upset and demanded that I make the soup without the paste.
Right.
And it says, I told him it would taste the same, and he said it would be better because he hates tomatoes. They're not a safe food for him. So she made it with tomato paste, and something felt off about it to him. It wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
So then he decided he didn't want it. He didn't want it home cooked. Because in his mind, she was playing with him and not taking his safe food seriously.
Right.
He thinks that she changed more than just the tomato paste in order to get him to admit that he was wrong. So he's really digging his heels in here. So what are your thoughts at this point so far, Dave?
there is more to come, but yeah.
Okay. First of all, $47 for a bowl. I'm assuming this is
Probably American.
This is American, probably. So
Yeah.
that's a lot of dollars.
Apparently, she gives context later on. Apparently, it's from like a catering restaurant. They're buying this. So they're buying like catering portions.
Okay. It's either, I'm just trying to figure out if it's just like a really big bowl, or if by beef stew they literally mean just beef and gravy. Just fully filled with Wagyu.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just because she mentioned somewhere in it that like beef tips is a type. It's a cut off from, I think, a tenderloin or something like that, which is just little cubes of beef essentially. That's a good question. She doesn't specify, but if someone who I suspect has offered, there's probably like carrots and cubed potatoes in there. I would say that's a very safe.
But those are cheap fillers, right? I'm just trying to figure out what could make a bowl
$47.
I just think it's kind of a bit like it's like going to the buffet and just putting in just the meats.
Yeah,
skipping the rice, just the stuff that costs money.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so we'll keep going on. So that says he's been ignoring me while sulking around the house, using his whiny voice a lot and slamming things. So then she says, I literally just wanted to stop spending insane amounts of money on stew. Wasn't trying to hurt him or ruin his life. I'm not autistic. Can't really wrap my head around caring this much about a single ingredient. Genuinely didn't see this reaction coming. We've been together 4 years, and he's only had 3 other fits like this. The others were pretty reasonable. Right. Those were a little less intense and didn't include input from his family. And so I guess the family are weighing in on it as well. And yeah, so the crux of it seems that this dude,
and this is where I think he's being a baby, is he should just accept the fact that, oh, actually, apparently I like tomato paste. But in his mind, no, he knows that he doesn't like tomatoes, and so therefore it couldn't possibly be the tomato paste. She did something, like, you know what I mean? He's in a very like suspicious, defensive mood there, and I think in that sense he needs to grow up a little bit. But yeah, just what are your thoughts as someone who I don't think suffers from this?
I don't. But to be fair, I was a youth worker for 10 years. For a charity, Boys and Girls Institute, and we did quite a bit of work with people on the autistic spectrum. And it is a spectrum. There is kind of quite a wide variety of how that can appear in people, and it really depends kind of how deep, I guess, he's in this. It might not be as simple as not being reasonable. It might just be that the journey to get from A to B is going to take a bit longer than you expect, and I might have missed it. Did you say that he tried it, he liked it, but then he was like suspicious?
He liked it, and then he saw her putting tomato paste in, and in his mind there was not tomato paste in it because he doesn't like tomatoes.
Yeah, I mean, they're like someone on the autistic spectrum, their brain does work quite differently from yours and I, and I don't know.
Maybe not mine. I'm heavily suspicious that I'm on the spectrum.
Really?
Somewhere.
No, I don't think so. I've known you long enough.
I present pretty well. Like I'm very close to appearing like, normal, but then like every now and then I'll do something where people will be like, where'd that come from?
Right.
So yeah, like don't get me wrong. I think
intense interests in wrestling, and anime, and
I think the way I communicate is a little bit like full on for people sometimes. Like I'm very direct sometimes, and I think that
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'll take that's a point in the other direction.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, as someone who has worked quite closely with these people,
you would actually know.
I've never had a single suspicion about you.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Not even a single red flag.
All right, well, I'll take that.
Getting deep into the counselling here.
I would get tested, but it's very expensive.
Yeah,
it's like $25.
Not as expensive as this bowl of beef soup, though. I mean, that's. I mean, all right. I mean, that's. I get it, because if that's that every meal, imagine that every meal. Imagine
and ordering that
like
three times a week. That's $150 for just one thing that only one of the partners can eat. Well, I mean, I'm sure she would, but she probably doesn't. She probably gets sick of it.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard. I actually know people who have actual phobias of like tomato sauce, for example. Like, will actually break out in cold sweats, or just like even just the sight or nearby of it just like freaks them out. And like, the reactions that I have seen, like I've never experienced it myself, but the reactions I've seen, I'm like, Okay, you legitimately look like you're sweating right now. So
I used to be like that. Like stuff would make me gag and stuff like that. But like I've gotten a lot better at it. It was weird. Working in food helped a lot because I used to work at a pizza chain, and so you've got all the ingredients there, and like when you can in your own time just pick things to try, that helps a lot. So if there's anyone suffering with it, I recommend working in food for a little bit, because you'll be like, I don't know what it is. I think it's maybe just because you're around it a lot and you realize like, actually, no, this is all right. But then like the thing that'll get me is if there's like an unexpected texture change in a food, that will have me being like, oh shit, what is that? And then
But I mean, you're like, have I got autism? But maybe you've just got the food thing. Maybe
I definitely have that for sure. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I don't think they're necessary. It's not like correlation is causation or whatever.
What food should I not serve you ever?
So I really can't handle sausages. The weird thing is that I love vegan sausages because they're consistent texture-wise. Because do you remember? So this is another piece of Kiwi culture for those American listeners and overseas listeners. But do you remember sausage sizzles from primary school?
Yeah.
You know how they would always give you those really cheap, like Sizzler brand sausages?
Yeah.
And those, I don't think I ever had a sausage sizzle where I didn't get one that had a massive chunk of something horrible in it.
Because they were like cheese. They had cheese on the inside. They were like manufactured.
No, it was hard, gristle or something. It was something like that. And like that would completely ruin it for me. I would just be like, the rest of this thing is tainted. And so like, I just haven't attempted. I have tried, I think some of that is just due to the low quality, because they're cheap. Sizzler is like the cheapest.
I wouldn't judge a sausage on a Sizzler. That's, they get better, honestly.
So that's the thing. There was this,
and as someone who's tried like Wagyu, like nothing tastes quite as good as the mystery meats, my friend. It's like
really
the mystery meats is where it's at. Like
what do you define as a mystery meat? Like a raccoon or something?
Sausage. You don't want to know what's in it. You don't want to know what's in it. But it's vaguely called a pork sausage. But
there's a lot of things. The horse meat.
It's best not to question it, but the taste, there's nothing sweeter than a bit of mystery meat.
Yeah. I think I have tried like, those German ones that are red?
Like Grensky's.
Maybe, yeah. There was a sponsor for a comedy festival we put on in Japan. He was like a German dude, I think, and he was called something like the Meat Man or something like that. And he sponsored a bunch of our shows and just gave hot dogs and that to sell out of the kitchen for the show. And someone handed me a piece, and it's like, we were just off air. We were talking about how we hate the pressure to accept drinks in this country. So I buckled to peer pressure there and knew I don't like sausages, but I took it anyways. And
please don't be sped it out.
No, I was pleasantly surprised. It was actually it was very nice. Yeah, so I think you're right there. Maybe I need to try some nicer sausages and stop basing it on a bad experience 20 years ago.
Well, this is it. What if I put some? What if I snuck a bit of sausage into your beef bowl and you actually liked it, but then you saw me put the sausage in?
No, so in that case, I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong. I'm happy to go, oh shit, that was okay, right? Like, and I think because this is on Reddit, and I'm guessing she has a Reddit boyfriend as well, and generally they tend to really not want to be wrong at all times, and I think a lot of it is him, like. I understand where he's coming from in the sense that, like, what your safe foods are, and, like, definitely I've had stuff ruined by seeing how it was made where I just didn't want to eat it anymore. But I think also he needs to look at the fact that there's evidence that he enjoys it with the tomato paste, and he should accept, like, oh, I'm growing as a person. This is great. Like, I think that's the point that I look at him like he's a little bit of a baby.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, I get it. I think there's probably an element of that. It's hard to know without it, like, meeting him, how deep in the pool he is.
You would be able. You're like a those dudes that could see like a stallion and they just know like what they're dealing with. And you'd be like that. You could watch him in his environment. Like, there we go.
But I mean, I think typically, like a typical expected behavior. Oh, do I use the word typical? Probably won't like that.
We're generalizing, but go
generalizing on. Here. I think if someone discovered that there was an ingredient in there they didn't like, but then they like the overall thing, you would say actually
that's progress, right?
It's progress.
Yeah,
I'm wrong. So there's probably, I think there's a little bit of that. Maybe he was a little bit of an asshole there, but also perhaps she kind of lost some of his trust there because he had
that's true.
flagged that this is this is something that I don't feel comfortable with. And she's like,
But you do.
yeah. And I'm just like, I'm going for it, And so they kind of didn't really set up the table for a table of trust at that point in time.
I think maybe the move for her, and I apparently you can do this with small children as well, is like you get them involved in the process of making it, and they can see like all the steps. Because like I think with something like a stew, he's probably looking at it like he doesn't need to know what's inside. He just knows I like the end product, and whatever the process to take it from raw ingredients to there is like I don't want to be a part of
the sausage principle.
So maybe that's not the right plan.
I think everyone sucks here actually in this opinion. I think he was like he kind of took it the wrong direction, but she didn't set the table for trust there.
She's being too much of a cowboy.
It just started off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
And had she in that point of time thought, actually, I'm going to take a step back because I might lose $47 now, but I'm going to save a bajillion dollars over the course of our relationship.
Yeah.
Perhaps she could have done differently. So that's Dave's verdict. What do you think? Final verdict?
I think she's got her heart in the right place, and this is something I sympathise with them a lot. Is people have very little sympathy for like people like me that aren't good with foods. A lot of people, they seem to think it's a choice, and they'll be like, you see all the time on and by the Arsehole Reddit, you'll see like, why can't my husband just stop eating like a child for one weekend, for one important dinner with my family? She wants to make like crawdad gumbo or something that he's, is not a like safe food or whatever. And I think a lot of people assume that it's a choice and not like it's like, why would we choose this life?
This guy's turning up with like some chicken nuggies or something.
Exactly, yeah. You saw a lot of that at Christmas, like, am I the asshole for bringing my own food to Christmas? That kind of thing. Okay, so I would say he needs to just accept like that he can be wrong about these things, and like he needs to realize that it's actually a good thing that he eats, But yeah, I think she was a little bit too much of a cowboy, and probably made it worse without meaning to. Okay, next one. So this one, we were just talking about travel before. I think this is an interesting one. Am I the arsehole for telling my father-in-law he cannot arrive at our house at 1 a.m? So my father-in-law is staying with us for 3 weeks over the holidays, which I already find an unacceptable length. So you see a lot about their relationship there. Yeah. But whatever. He told us he was planning on coming up this weekend from Florida. He'll be driving. My wife asked him what time he thinks he might be arriving, and he said 1 a.m. I said that's unacceptable, and he should leave a different time or stop along the way and get a hotel. We have 2 young children, 8 months and 3.5 years old. The guest bedroom my father-in-law will be staying at requires him to walk past their rooms. Last thing I need is him coming at 1 a.m, making all sorts of noise and waking up everyone. So, at that point, I'll just read the last one. Yeah. My wife was talking to my father-in-law, and she said she was pushing back a little bit, and I kept quiet until he said, "There's another way of looking at this. A man coming to visit his family. Like we are lucky to be graced with his presence." I had to chime in and say, "No, 1 a.m. is unacceptable." He replies, "You're entitled to your opinion." The conversation got a bit heated after that comment, with it resulting in him agreeing to arrive at a normal time. Now my wife is trying to guilt trip me into being the bad guy for making him arrive at a normal time. Am I the arsehole? So what are your thoughts there?
So do you say this was over the holidays?
So this was
the Christmas holidays?
22 days ago, so yeah, it would have been around Christmas time.
I think that's often the determinant around when you fly is the cost of flights, and I think prices spiking around Christmas time could easily make someone decide, actually, within my means, I can only really fly.
He was driving though.
He was driving.
Yeah. And the end result was that he did leave an early. Yeah, I think absolutely. If it was flying, you don't have a choice sometimes, right? Like you just have to deal with what you have to deal with.
That's okay. That's totally flipped this whole thing on my head. I was thinking flying, come on, get over it. Flights come at weird times.
It's like 1 a.m.
But he's driving and he's like, I've got to turn up at 1 a.m. Okay, so I think there's, I might break it down into components. I think arriving at 1 a.m. is not a great way to make an impression on your hosts.
So this, I'll just pause because I want to lunch on things. So the perspective here of someone who actually has children versus me, who would probably be awake that time anyway.
Yeah.
So I was curious to hear what you think about it.
Oh, about walking past the kids' rooms? Oh, get over it. Honestly,
I think what is he going to be knocking on the walls as he walks past?
Put down a carpet, put out a rug or something. I mean, if your kid is going to wake at the sound of footsteps past the bedroom door, you are welcoming a lifetime of troubles and issues. Just turn up the white noise louder. You'll be fine. So I find that bit totally. I do think there is an element of an uncoordinated period of time. I think that's sounds like there was a little bit of presumption, which probably sets the tone. I do notice that she says, I think
this is written by a he.
Oh my gosh, I'm making all these assumptions. This is terrible.
To be fair, I'm reading it quickly and you're not seeing it in front of you, so
I think, it's quite interesting they said, I take issue with this, but whatever. Everything after the but is a lie. Obviously, that sets the tone. They are actually still quite annoyed about this whole 3 weeks thing.
The whole post to me reads like this person really doesn't like their father-in-law, and so anything he does is going to be reacted to as like, oh, of course he like everything he does is going to annoy this guy. I think to begin with, and like the argument at the end. And I think maybe the father-in-law is being a little bit bullheaded with like him trying to like, oh, I'm just a man trying to, and it's like you can leave earlier than if you're driving, you can leave earlier.
See again, like the length can also be dictated by flight prices, but if you drive in there and back,
you can leave at different times. And the only thing is we don't know what because he says he's coming out from Florida, so my feeling is they're in like the Midwest or somewhere, or New York or something. So I don't know what that drive is, but
what's the last? Make it worth the drive, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's one thing that the whole idea that like when you marry someone, their family becomes your family, and like the amount of stories you see on Am I the Arsehole of like just tension with their parents-in-law is just like, my God, that sounds like a headache. And those times around the year when like holiday periods where it's kind of just expected that you will visit all of your family, and especially like you read a lot of these threads where it's like a new family, they've been together for a couple of years. Previously the tradition was like, we'll go to this, your parents for lunch, my parents for dinner or whatever, but then they get to the point where they start to want to kind of make their own traditions, and the parents-in-law don't take it well. Again, you don't have to answer this if you don't want, but it was the tradition of you get on all right with your parents-in-law? Like, has there been any kind of, was that a rough transition, or has it all sort of it's been all right?
There was some kind of expectations around like whose turn it was with Christmas when it first kind of started, and
they're all local.
Well, this is back when we were living in Wellington. One of them was living in like Marston, and one of them was living in like Wanganui. So we would, for a few years there, we tried to do 2 in a day, which is quite
that's a long
quite
day.
A bit of it's a long day, long drive, like
especially when you get hit with that thing where like you have to leave at a certain time to make a good on your second appointment, and the first appointment wants to try and keep you there for a bit longer. Yeah, that's exhausting.
And then if we did the alternating, sometimes you'd have these kind of rare events where, because I've got like 3 older brothers plus my parents, occasionally like there'd be once in a blue moon an opportunity for all of us to get together, and that would mess up the alternating kind of thing. So
they just whirlwind through. And
suddenly we've done 2 years those people. So it's a little bit tricky. I mean, I think we're quite lucky in New Zealand. A good friend of mine, because our Christmas is in summer, separated from winter. My friend, their family, they have like, for one family, they every year have a midwinter Christmas.
Oh yeah,
and then the other family, they have like a normal Christmas, and then they're able to just like, there's no kind of fight in there. I think we've probably, to answer your question, we've probably moved to the point where we are starting to have our own Christmases. And anyone's welcome if they want to.
That's the great way to put it. It's like, we'll be here, where we are, we're not here. Yeah. That's a good way to be. But this one here feels like, to me, it feels like the guy writing it just wants to pick an argument with his father-in-law who he doesn't get along with. So I wouldn't say necessarily asshole, but I feel like there's an agenda here.
There's definitely an agenda, and I guess we don't see kind of what the father-in-law is like. Maybe he's worried about walking down the corridor because he's always just like talks so loud or something like that, or maybe there must be a history of an annoyance somewhat.
Yes, it feels like, and I imagine this is probably a struggle that can happen is like, if you've got a wife who's close with her father, probably he's the most important guy to her up until she gets married, and then suddenly you have this kind of thing where it's like, well, that's her father, but then this is your husband, and like, as you see a lot with like mother-in-law, just being relentless towards new wife, and husband not being able to stick up for his wife, or not choosing to stick up for his wife. He's so like, oh, that just seems like a dynamic I'm glad I don't have to deal with.
Yeah, getting married is never. You never start with a clean slate.
No, you do not.
There's always, like, you need to kind of prioritize your marriage.
Yes.
I think that is important. But there's always going to be times where you disagree with your partner about a wider family decision, and that is quite hard to navigate sometimes.
Yeah. So this might lead into another one that I saw. I think it was just today, actually, and I thought this would be quite a good one. Where is it? Oh, this one that I just read. So I'll tell you this one, but it was basically so trigger warning. We're going to talk about miscarriages to people that might not want to. It's not gory deals. They just mention it in the story. So
love this comedy podcast.
Skip kind of 10 minutes if you don't want to hear that. So the family, the person who was posting it had a miscarriage, and then her sister or sister-in-law had also just conceived, or had she's pregnant or something.
That's hard.
And she accidentally overheard something as they were walking up to the house for like Sunday dinner or something. And like, I don't know how loud these people must have been talking, because they overheard something, and it was essentially like them all sort of lamenting, like, oh, we should just get over it, like she's never the only person. And so she was obviously really upset and left. And the husband was like sort of in this tough spot of like, he obviously understood that his wife was upset, but then he lost a bit of sympathy for me by kind of being to his wife like, well, you could have left it, an hour or something like that. And so, what are your thoughts on that kind of scenario?
Oh, I mean, it just sounds like them having together under a veneer of everything's okay.
That's right. People do want you to pretend that nothing's wrong for their sake, right?
And should she push through that? It's hard to say.
Yeah,
really.
They didn't mean for her to hear it.
Yeah.
But then also at the same time, it's like, well, you can't put the genie back in the bottle now, right?
I mean, that definitely shows a feeling of lack of empathy.
Yeah,
especially when you've been blessed to.
I know, right?
To receive something so cool for what you were hoping.
And then it does feel a bit like, can you not rain on my parade sort of thing.
Would I want to have dinner with that person afterwards?
No way.
Probably not.
No way.
I don't think she's the asshole in this situation.
Yeah. And as me, who would just take any excuse to get out of a family dinner. I was thinking about that. So like, has your family ever been the one to do the Sunday dinner or whatever before, like, back to work on Monday kind of thing?
Nah.
Mine hasn't neither. Where did that send it? Mine hasn't either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it's like Sunday right before you go to bed to work. I wouldn't want to have to be like kind of on and around people and stuff again. So that does not sound like a pleasant tradition to me at all.
Nah.
I must come across like a real miser on this podcast here. Miser, is that the word I'm thinking
I don't
of?
even know what that means.
Curmudgeon might be a better one.
Curmudgeon, right, thank you.
Okay, so the next one is... this is an interesting one. So it says, am I the asshole? My wife is super pissed off. I've been married for 5 years with my wife, who I've met nearly 10 years ago. She loves travelling a lot, and she loves travelling on the date of her birthday. Last year she went to Brazil and had a great time.
Nice.
In May we had a month-long travel to Europe, where we visited some Greek island, Athens, a bunch of Spanish cities, and Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Her birthday is in a few days, and we had some long talks about travelling. This is where it starts to say, Europe left us in debt, and some health issues left us with almost no savings. Also, we want to have children this year, and we need some money some medical assistance for that, which also costs money. I told her that maybe this year we cannot afford to travel anywhere. She didn't like it, but she agreed. But it turns out a few days ago she snapped. She's now super angry because she's staying home for her birthday, that it doesn't matter what we discussed. She never said she doesn't want to travel, and that me, as her husband, should know what she wants for her birthday and should have known that she wanted to travel either way and surprised her with some tickets. I really don't know how to diffuse the situation. I offered to buy some last-minute tickets, but now she doesn't want to because she said I'd just be doing it because she forced me. Am I the asshole? How do you feel about that one?
Well, being open and able to talk about money is really important because I believe, if I know the stats right, that disagreements over money is one of the leading causes of divorce.
Right, yeah.
So I think... I'm a big traveller. I've been to 40 countries.
Wow.
But it's really important that you still live within your means.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in fact, when we travel, we go big. Someone once mentioned to us this phrase, extend yourself at point of purchase, which means that if you're on holiday and you're offered like the normal version or the deluxe version, you should extend yourself at point of purchase and go for the deluxe version.
Really?
Because the cost of regret when you get home costs more. So
was this like a credit card company telling you this?
Maybe, I don't know. But honestly, it's given me some of my best memories. So,
what do they say? The pain of regret is more than the pain of failure, or whatever they say.
Yeah. So I think there should be room within that relationship to say, as much as we want to, we can't go traveling.
Yeah.
However, that being said, I think in this scenario, that doesn't mean there should be a void of thought. And I think
it seems like he just dusted his hands off. Great
job done.
That's dealt with.
Like honestly, one of the I reckon, I don't know if he's mentioned this in his post later on, but I think what he could have done is had a staycation. So often we live in our cities and we don't do the touristy things because like the touristy things. That's just what the tourists do. But often touristy things are touristy things because they're awesome.
Because they're fun, yeah.
And I think if he kind of put a little bit of thought into it, maybe made a bit of a little bit of an itinerary for the day, doing some cool different things, or like just a little bit of thought. Yeah. I think that if he'd done that and she still got really annoyed, then I think that would be a red flag. But if it was void of that, and then I think he might be.
Now that you mention it, I think actually you're right. It seems like he just told her, like, we're not traveling this year, therefore you're not getting anything for your birthday. So yeah, I think you're right. Just book like a hotel room in the city or something, and I don't know, go do some.
So thoughtful, Taylor.
Huh?
So thoughtful. Just a hotel room. No, you got to do the sights, man. You got to go to a nice eatery. Got to get some.
Yeah, I wasn't going to end it. Just book a hotel room and say,
like
your check-in time's 3:00, darling. We'll see you. We'll see you when you get back on Monday.
If you had to plan a staycation in Christchurch, what would you do?
I've actually made a list of all the things I really like down here.
Yeah, that's right, because you're not actually from here,
no,
are
I
you?
moved down here 3 years ago. I've been trying to look around the city. I mean, in terms of eateries, there's some fantastic ones out there. I really like, shout out to Arbor in Littleton. They do this really cool little pizza bar down there.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
There's some really cool fine dining restaurants. Inati is quite a cool one. We went to one on just the other night. My parents were babysitting. We went to a place called Kokomo. That was delicious as well.
Where is that one?
That's on Wells Street, just down from Moi Moi.
Yes, indeed.
So there's lots of food things. In terms of activities, I mean, it's expensive, but the Christchurch Adventure Park, where you can do over a kilometre of zip lining, is actually incredible.
Yeah,
that was fantastic. There's some cool mini golf courses. Caddyshack City over in Ferrymead.
That's right.
It's a good time.
There was a dinosaurs one at some point. Yeah, I don't know if it's still going.
I've never stopped with that place.
No,
just a lot of static dinosaurs around.
I think the missing ingredient there is thought, honestly, in that whole scenario.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, does feel like he just went, well, that's that sorted, and then is like, what? Why is she so angry?
We'll probably have enough money again for my birthday.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. It's like, is he able to go without his Legos? For some reason, you see on Am I the Arsehole always it's like the husband wants to buy like a $300 what's the thing from Star Wars, the Millennium Falcon, like a Lego set, and
Naturally,
somehow they can find the money for that, but they can't find the money for a trip to the beach on his wife's birthday. Okay.
The beach is actually cheap.
It is, yeah.
You know. It's funny. Everyone sells you this dream of retire on the beach. You can retire on the beach probably today. It doesn't cost you
to
nothing.
stop you from going to the beach.
You just live on the beach.
You can just go to the
probably
beach.
got enough money now. Do it.
That's right. There's a great restaurant. I think it's New Brighton is our closest one. Sumner is the one that you have to go inland a little bit for. So this is weird for someone. We're just talking about having a weird food thing, but I ate. They were like soft shelled crabs or something, and it was like in a burger. So you're just eating like a crab.
No! Soft shell crabs. It gave me the biggest food poisoning of my whole life. I have an aversion to soft shell crabs.
I got lucky, but I can see why they would if it wasn't cleaned properly or something, right?
It was in Thailand. We broke our rules in Thailand. 30% of people who visit Thailand get food poisoning, and we have 3 rules: eat hot, don't eat seafood, eat with the locals are. And we broke all 3 for this secluded beachfront restaurant, eating seafood and eating soft shell crab. And I had food poisoning scuba diving the next day. And that is a scary thought. Do I vomit into my regulator, or do I take the regulator out and try and vomit?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, that is brutal.
A bit of a tangent, but soft shell crab, man. That is the asshole in this story.
That's a red flag, yeah. Okay, so what have we got now? So this one is a bit of an old head one, but I still find myself laughing at the image that it pops in my head. Okay. So, am I the asshole for divorcing my husband because he spent 10 minutes in the car during a family emergency? So it says, I, female, have been married to my husband, male, for 2 years. He has a habit of sitting in the car 5 to 10 minutes before entering the house. So like that, do you do that as well?
No.
Man, I don't know why, but...
Well, I took it very literally. Our garage is in our house.
True. So I park in the driveway, but like, man, sometimes just that moment of peace in the car afterwards is just glorious. I'm not every time like this guy.
Yeah.
So it says, I don't know why he does it, but he talked about a past traumatic experience he had when he came home and caught his ex cheating on him. Okay. Because of that, he'd spend a few minutes in his car before he enters his home as a response to his trauma.
Okay.
Now, I won't say that he's wrong in coping with what happened, but this has made me feel uneasy when it had caused many fights between us.
Okay.
Like when we have guests, he'd sit outside before coming in, or when dinner is waiting for him, and he'd take 10 minutes silently sitting in the car. So this is evidently like he must sit for 10 minutes in the car. I was worried that something might come up and he does not respond properly, and it happened last week. My 8-year-old son tripped and fell from the stairs and broke his ankle. He was in so much pain, and I called my husband to come take him to the hospital, and he rushed out of work. But then I called, and then I was stunned when I looked out the window and saw him sitting outside his house in his car. So that image is just what I keep in my head is, child in pain screaming, and she looks out and it's just him sitting like blankly staring ahead in his car in the driveway. He's been home for 10 minutes now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So then what does it say? He sitting outside in his car. I was both shocked and angry. I ran outside and asked how long was he sitting in his car. He told me around 8 minutes. I asked why he didn't come into the house immediately to help, and he said he would after 2 more minutes. I was so mad and hurt, but I tried to rush him, and he insisted he wouldn't feel comfortable coming in until the 10 minutes were up.
Oh my goodness me.
He told me to get my son ready to take him to the hospital, but I started screaming at him nonstop, telling him this was a family emergency and he was out of his mind to behave like that. It may not have been my best response, but I was shocked by his behaviour and quite concerned because I had this situation always stuck in the back of my mind thinking what my husband would do when there's a family emergency. I ended up taking my son by myself when my neighbour intervened and offered to take us. We went to the hospital and later my husband came and tried to talk to me. I wonder if he sat outside for 10 minutes. But I refused. I went there to say... So she says, I then went to stay with my mum and texted him that I wanted a divorce. He tried to rationalise and justify what he's doing, saying he could not help it, and that he was nervous and wanted to help my son but felt stuck. I refused to reply to his messages, and days later his family literally harassed me, saying I was making my husband's trauma more severe and that I disrespected his boundaries by pushing. I hate how people have taken therapy language, and then you like
weaponize it.
You can't even like state you're trying to convince somebody of something, and they're always like, "Why are you gaslighting me?" And it's like, what? So I feel lost and unable to think because the whole ordeal. My family are with me on this, but they can be biased sometimes. My husband is still trying to basically talk me out of the divorce, saying I'm making a huge deal out of it. I feel like I no longer have trust in him, especially when it comes to serious stuff like how cold he acted in the family emergency. To clarify that my son isn't his biological son. We don't have kids together, so that's the whole post. So what are your thoughts on that one, Dave?
Wait. So that's not his kid?
It's not his kid.
Yes. Okay.
Well, I mean,
so
he's probably a stepdad, but yeah, it's not his.
It's a tricky coping mechanism because it also projects like, why are you staying in the car? Oh, to give my cheaters time to kind of sneak out the back door. It's like, I once was cheated on, so I'm just going to give you time every time I arrive home just to sort out your cheating. That's not a great message to start with.
No, it's not a good way to handle it.
No, I think it's a shame because and sometimes in these circumstances, just a shot of adrenaline might be the cure to overcoming some of these kind of things. Yeah. And it sounds like you left work in a rush with a bit of adrenaline, but it just totally petered out by the time we got home.
Yeah.
That not being a medical person, but just being a normal person, I think that's pretty asshole behavior. I just think some of that you just need to kind of get off your ass and get in amongst it. I
think you hear this again, generalizing. This is hetero relationships. We're kind of generalizing in, but I think a really common thing that can happen is when women are expecting like their man to be like this sort of dude who leaps into action, and she was hoping he would, the car would drift into the driveway and he would jump out before it stopped and pick up his son, and you know what I mean, like she wanted him to be this dashing figure who was gonna like, I guess you're expecting more, I suppose, right? But then in most cases, it's not going to happen like your expectations. I've heard many cases of stuff happening where like the boyfriend freezes, and like I remember reading one where it was like a guy was harassing a girl at a bus stop, and there was a couple. The girl was the one that wrote the post, and her boyfriend kind of just watched and let it happen, like didn't really do anything. And I think in her mind he kind of lost a little bit of he lost a bit of like this sort of protector, or the kind of like you want someone who's got your back in that situation, right? And
there's a conflict of fight and flight. One person's got fight, one's got flight. It's hard because like Jenny, my wife, she's actually the more level-headed one in an emergency. She's actually quite good at taking charge in those moments, but I think regardless of that, she would want me present. Regardless of whatever gender, I think she would want me present, even just be extra pair of hands. Sometimes in those scenarios, you can't lift a child by yourself. You don't have to be macho man, but you can. You can take a leg. You can take a leg. So I think, I know. I mean,
I was that once where living in rural New Zealand, every now and then you're going to have a loose sheep on your property or something, and the owners found it and they asked for my help getting it onto getting it back onto the flat. They caught it and they tied something like 3 of its legs up, and then they're like, "Can you help us lift it onto the back of the thing?" So I don't feel like I helped much. I just kind of held onto one of its legs and kind of yanked, and I all sorts of brown muck came off. Like sheep are dirty, man. They're not clean animals.
But what were you? Present.
Yeah, exactly. They would have. It looked like I helped, Oh man, that sheep. It looks like he's not even exerting any effort to lift it up. That guy must be really strong.
I know.
But yeah, I think that's it. Is you want people to keep their wits about them when something happens, and I think I think as well, it's that whole idea of like people with anxiety. I think they are often weirdly looking for, or they're not happy when stuff goes wrong, but they feel like they're sort of validated because they were right about being worried about it. And I think sounds like in her head for ages she's been going, this fucking guy is going to drop the ball when something bad happens. And then when he did, she's like, I knew it. This guy's a drip, like, and so I think she had in her mind kind of a preconception about what he would be like in a
Yeah.
in an emergency, and then when he did exactly what she thought, she was like, I fucking knew it.
Yeah, I think there's a really important distinction between expectancy and expectation. Like sometimes if someone has a prescribed, in their heads they've already kind of thought of the prescribed steps they want you to take, but they don't articulate that to you. You have to achieve all of those steps to achieve.
You have to figure them out on your own.
That's expectation, but I feel like there should, and I think that can be quite destructive if not communicated. But I think expectancy, where if I'm in trouble, my husband will help.
Yeah,
I think
that's a reasonable expectation.
That's a reasonable expectation.
Yeah,
so I think you're right. I think she has. Sounds like she has stewed on that for a while.
Yes, I think it's something she thinks about very regularly.
Yeah, but but still, even then, like it's the first level. Get inside. He failed at the first level, man. That's give me some spicy ones.
Okay. So that was one of my favorites. This one here makes me very angry secondhand, but it's kind of unreasonable, so we'll see. Okay. So, am I the asshole for shouting at my boyfriend for man-spreading in the car? Ooh. So she's 23, he's 23. We're visiting my family for New Year's. We had a nice time. I was staying with my family for a few more days, and he was going to see his family. As he doesn't drive, I drove him home. Because we live within walking distance of each other and town, I've never driven him anywhere before. I drove a smallish car with a stick, so when we got in, I politely asked him to keep out of the way of the stick so I could drive safely. He's not much taller than me, and his seat was all the way back, so there was more than enough room for his legs. 10 minutes into the drive, he spreads out, and I struggled to change gears, so I said, please move your legs. Yeah. He did, then spread out again. The road was long, and I didn't need to change gears, so I just said to him that he might need to move his legs soon. Then we went down a narrow road with cars parked on the side. I slowed down as much as I could without changing gear. I wasn't going fast, only 30 miles an hour. And then suddenly the car in front of me stopped. I wasn't expecting this, so I practically did an emergency stop. At this, my boyfriend said, chill, woman.
Oh,
yeah, that was not good. As I was at a stop, I needed to change gears, so I shouted, stop fucking man-spreading, let me get to my gears. And you can criticize my driving when your license is pink.
Oi.
He said that the woman in the car in front is who he was talking about, but there's, interesting, trying to divert to, no, I was talking to the person in front.
I see.
But there was no way he could know the driver in front was female. He was then really upset with me, and I felt bad for blowing up, so we drove in silence for the rest of the ride, and he's barely been texting me since. So, what are your feelings about that one?
Well, I'm just curious because you said this one makes you mad, so it makes me wonder: are you a man spreader? Are you a...
No, the other way around. I drive a manual, and
I see.
For the most part, people are pretty good at not having. Because do you drive manual?
I used to growing up, but you hardly buy any cars these days.
Yeah,
the old starlets.
Mine's from the 96 or something. Yeah. But because it's a small car starlet. Yeah. I'm sure I've talked about it. Oh yeah, I talked about it in my special.
6,700 views, by the way. This guy, big boy numbers. Just want to plug that there. If you haven't seen it, it's the best special I've seen in the last 2 months. So that's
Jesus, you're making me blush. You're making me blush, Dave.
I'm just glad I got to know you before you got famous.
I know, right?
It's gonna,
yeah, sure.
Me, when I scalp your tickets, it's going to be
nice. Yeah, I'll make sure I see.
You'll never expect me.
I'll make sure I set aside a couple for you to make. I'm like Caesar. I spread the wealth around. But so I drive this little starlet, and for the most part, I don't have an issue with it. But what happens is when people's knee is hitting up against, it's not up. It's to the point where if you move the gear stick to the left, which you have to do quite a bit in city driving because first and second is on the left. And what baffles me is people feel the gear stick hit their leg, and they I would go, oh shit, sorry, and I would move it, but people just leave it there, and I'm like, get off me, get your damn leg over.
Yeah, and
I don't know whether it's because I'm pretty big, but even I am sort of conscious enough to sort of keep my feet especially on airplanes or something. I'm very careful not to man spread, as they say, but yes, and it's that thing of people after the third time you want to be I'm going to be hitting your leg the whole drive. This is not a thing that you do it once and then it's oh no, I can just put my leg back and it's not going to be. And so I get really annoyed when people do that, but I don't know, I have road rage, so I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, there's two things going on there. Overall safety of the vehicle.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of number one. You are putting us in danger and you are not
Yeah.
responding. And the other thing is that they are not responding to communication requests. And I think my number one trait for a relationship is that when I speak to you, you pay attention.
Yeah.
You're there. You're present.
Yeah.
And it sounds like this person has tried to communicate 3 times, feeling frustrated that they are
he's
not
on
doing
his
it.
phone or something.
And because they're doing that, it's put them in danger. So I think and then you top it off with the chill woman. That's
I don't think that's a nice thing to say to
I
someone.
don't think, even if it was the person in front, why add woman? Why just say chill, driver?
Chill, bro. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't.
So I will say that what I love about Am I the Arsehole is that the titles of these things often trick you.
Yes.
Because there's like, am I the arsehole for telling someone a man spread? You're like, okay, I'm ready for this discussion.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it takes you in a different direction.
Yeah, they have to be clickbaity a little bit.
I know. So I mean, it's half the fun, really.
Okay, let's see if we can get another one in before we run out of time. So this one here, this would be a good one to end on because I'm curious to see how you feel about this. So,
Okay.
My wife wants me to print a 150-page recipe book on a work printer. I don't want to. Am I the asshole? So context, my wife put in a lot of effort to compile a set of recipes for our dinner cookbook. I contributed by helping her combine 50 plus 1 or 2 page recipes into a single PDF document.
Mm-hmm.
She wants me to use a work printer to print the book.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable doing this because 1, I'm part of an IT committee that's looking into misuse of company resources. And 2, I don't like being a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Her point is that I should do it for her. Am I the asshole? So, more facts. He works at a uni. She worked in corporate America previously. Her morals are more flexible than mine. She's fine bending the rules often. I'm okay paying slightly more to do the right thing. We have more than enough money to print the cookbook using FedEx. I offered to take the mental load off doing this myself. I'm fine printing 5 to 10 pages occasionally. She agrees that 1,000 pages is too much to ask, but she can't understand why I care so much about 150. This is a meaningless married forever couple's argument in an otherwise loving marriage. So, what are your thoughts about that?
I mean, I'm assuming it's colour.
Well, if it's just recipes, I don't know. Maybe it's just text.
Oh, it's never just. It's always your backstory. It's always like, I grew up in a country village with a poor person, and here's a photo of me as a child, and then page 4 you'll get to the recipe.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like it's not just, so there's 2 scenarios, right? Like we don't have a printer in this house, so we have to print somewhere.
Yeah.
So the options I thought initially was going to be like, okay, it's either going to be like work or a library, but maybe they didn't have a library. But it sounds like it's not access to a printer; it's the money saving factor that she's going for. Like, because you can go to a library, you can spend 10 cents a page or whatever and pay for it.
Well, so this is what the idea of printing personal things on the work printer, I think, is an interesting one to discuss because I think everybody kind of agrees that, like, we all do it a little bit.
Yeah.
I caught someone printing birthday invitations off the work printer once in my last job.
What did you do?
My feeling is like in that situation, nobody abuses abuses the privilege, and nobody gets caught.
Yeah.
And you're just doing little things here and there, then I think that's fine. I think there's a certain.
So you think there's a threshold?
I think there's a threshold.
What would be so 150 pages?
150 is definitely
too high. What's your threshold?
I bulked at 10 on the. I think 10 has taken the mickey a little bit. So I think.
So that person, they didn't invite 10 friends. They invited 9.
I don't remember what it was. I think it was 4 or 5 they were printing off, and I found that acceptable. And
colour? Colour.
Oh yeah, they were full colour. they were getting their money's worth on that. Because I think people take their revenge on companies that maybe work them a little hard and underpay them in things like free coffees from the breaks room, cigarette breaks, and abusing the colour print. But it's you have to be smart about it. Do you know what I mean? It's the kind of like the mafia guys will sometimes skim a little off the top. It's that kind of thing. You've got to have a light touch. You've got to be like a safe cracker a little bit. That's my feeling, is that we all do it.
Yeah.
We don't admit to it. And the biggest sin is do not get caught, because then you should ruin it for all of us. So I don't know, what are your feelings about it?
Oh, okay. So to your point, I do think people don't leave companies, they leave managers. I think.
Yes.
Sounds like this guy liked his job. I think for this particular scenario, I think they should just pay the money, whether that be go to a library or say to the boss, hey, look, we're having to print a bit extra than we normally would. Can we compensate for that kind of thing?
Yeah.
However, am I guiltless? No, because when we were in the UK traveling for a year, we ended up working at this pub, the Forest, if you're listening.
Dave owes you 34 cents, I think.
And we hated the owners. It was like a live-in role, and they were just drop kicks.
So you would live there and then work there.
I worked in the bar.
This is both of you?
Yeah.
Really?
She worked in the restaurant. It was like, we were being paid like £6 an hour, which is like $12, and it was just rough. It was just rough. But and there was no staff picks. So what I have to admit,
the only staff picks are the ones that you don't get caught. Exactly. The ones you make for yourself.
I saw an opportunity, and I'm going to admit this, that I realized that there was there's cameras, and then you couldn't just give away free drinks, because there needed to be a transaction. So what I set up among the staff members is that you pay for a small drink, and then I will give you a big drink.
That's
so
good.
Like you buy like a half price one, and I give you.
So there's money goes into the till.
Yeah,
it's harder to track that kind of 6 cents worth of. Okay.
And that 3 months ended up being really fun because of that reason.
Yeah, they would have been Dave on tonight. Oh no, he's not. Okay, we'll come back.
just only just between staff members.
Yeah.
We're going to nod.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then apparently the transition. The tradition carried on after we left, and there was this like one young guy called Bob. He was such a pleasant young man, and he got caught. He took the whole full rap.
Oh no, that's so funny. You're long gone at this point.
Yeah. So okay, throw your first stone. I don't know if I'm guiltless, but I think probably, in my opinion, in this scenario, 150 pages is probably too high. I would probably similar to you.
Yeah.
10 pages or less, but if it's up that level, I think you should be paying for it.
Yeah, I think it's like the way you continue to get away with these little things is by not drawing attention. It's the equivalent of, like, I don't know, stealing $1 from the work till for 6 years versus taking it all home one night. Like, you're going to get busted.
Yeah.
And I think I do find it really funny that we all kind of, to an extent, accept that the work printer is not off limits. Multi-purpose, And I think I do find that really fascinating, the way that we justify it, like, oh, well, they should be paying more for this, so I'm going to get them back at the work printer. And like you say, the cheap drinks turning into doubles or whatever. Oh, that's brilliant. I love it. So yeah. If you've got a similar, I'd love to make a list of all the grifts that we do to kind of get one back for it. The three I can think of are, having more than 2 coffees or whatever in the coffee room at work.
You dirty human, you.
I never did that. I think
had like 5.
I think for me, if I had more than that, I would be a bit like, too buzzing at my desk or whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of smoke breaks. Oh, doing the move where you say you've got a 15-minute unpaid break, whatever it is, 15-minute break. You walk to the bathroom, you leave for your break, but then you don't actually start counting that 15 minutes until you've finished your bathroom break.
Oh.
You really stack because it's that thing of, like, certain things we all just agree, like, don't count, like toilet breaks don't count. So it's like,
it's probably legislation, right? It probably doesn't count.
No, I suspect there's probably you can't do that. That would be a funny book to make, is just all the little work grifts that they can't get you on.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, so we've got to let you get back to it.
Family life, yeah.
Thank you for welcoming me into your home again, Dave.
Thank you. Thanks for coming all the way down here.
Yeah, no, we need to get some plugs in. So
I am currentently on hiatus. I am on new baby dad time. I will be back kind of mid 2025. I'm excited about comedy. I want to get back, but I just want to make sure that
Are you looking at putting together a show, like a solo?
I think that is my. I've achieved a lot of things that I wanted to achieve this year, and that's probably my next level. Either running my own hour, or co-running a show for some kind of like Dunedin Fringe or something, or even setting up a local monthly show. I think that's probably my next move. So I don't have any things right now. If you're wanting a website, we are winning.nz. We make fantastic websites for small to medium-sized businesses, but then actually my wife's on maternity leave, so you have to wait till May anyway. So just look me up, like me on Facebook. I'm nearly 500 likes. I want to get there.
Are you at 500?
I know, I'm like 430, but let's aim high.
Yeah. I just hit 500 subs on YouTube, and I feel like that's a bit of a milestone. Like if I can get it to 1K, I'll feel like that's a little bit of a sign of like, okay, things are going well.
I think the 4.6K views is going well.
I was expecting, I wrote this post about this, but I was expecting maybe 1,500, and then it kept going, and it got to 3, and I was like, okay, well, that's beat what I expected. And then it hasn't quite hit 6.9 yet, but when it does, I'll be able to retire happy. So go and check that out, Panic at the Buffet. I think I've decided the name for my next special. I think I'm going to call it Bruiser. Was I telling you about this?
Yeah. And I was saying very related to wrestling, Bruiser Brody.
And then Matt Lilly, I mentioned it to him, and he said the great thing about it is it kind of goes both ways. Like, are you somebody who bruises other people, or are you bruised easily? And so I'm quite like, like I bruise easily. And it's like
a banana.
Yeah, that would be the show. All right, so thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you,
Thank you, Ruddle Maniacs, for listening, and we'll check you out. We'll catch you next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Ruddle Me This. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform. You can find me on social media at Taylor Ruddle Comedy on all the major platforms. You can also join patreon.com/Taylor Ruddle Comedy for free, which gets you access to all sorts of extras and behind the scenes content, as well as allows you to communicate directly with me and let me know what you think of the show. Tune in again next Monday for another episode of Ruddle Me This, and until then, Ruddle her out.
This has been a Tape Deck Media production. Thank you for listening.
Hey Ruddlers, I joined a group of podcasters that we are calling the Trailer Alliance, a group of podcasters that share each other's trailers at the end of the episodes and generally support each other. So at the end of each episode for the next few weeks, I'm going to be playing a trailer of one of the members of the Trailer Alliance. And here's one of them now. I hope you like it.
Hello, Like Mother, Like Murder listeners. I am Rachel.
And I'm Heather.
We are the hosts of Like Mother, Like Murder.
We bring you the good, the badass, and the crime.
Each week, we bring you stories from missing and murdered
to survivors and women who empower you.
And of course, some mom talk sprinkled in.
Check us out wherever you get your podcasts at Like Mother, Like Murder.
And give us a follow on social media so that we can say hi.
Okay, love you, bye.
Okay, love you, bye.
Check. Why the...
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.